So there's a very deep sense of purpose and information that is held in your cock. So the cock is at the base of who you are. It's all the way down there. It's what creates your seed and your information of creation out into the world. And everything in our lives operates in metaphor. So I'm not just talking about cocks because I love to talk about cocks. I'm actually talking about cock because it's representational of this very important aspect of a masculine man that is his instinct, right? The cock creates the sperm to create his life out into the world. We are so biologically driven just by that one aspect. That one aspect drives us to have all of these animal urges and then emotions and then thoughts that come with it so that the cock can achieve its mission in life. But what happens for a man, and this happens for many, many, many men, where that information of his masculinity gets cut off from his conscious awareness? Well, the answer to that is what you end up seeing in a man is that he this is part two to a video or podcast, wherever you're listening. If you have not listened to that already, there's a ton of information that you need to understand in there before you watch this one. That video is for the man that has been on the self-development journey for some time or long enough, but you still find yourself stuck in your head no matter how much work you have done. So pause this, open up another browser and go ahead and watch that and then come back here. And then that will give you a really complete picture of your next steps to really, truly stepping into that wildly confident, attractive version of you without it being some kind of heady, logical concept that you understand logically, but then you go out into the real world and it doesn't translate. There is deep spiritual wisdom in the cock. Okay. And I know that the word cock is like this provocative word. I oftentimes get comments like, oh my gosh, how could you say this out loud and all of the things? But I actually don't mean it to be provocative. I don't mean it to be causing you to have this intense emotional reaction to it. I actually mean it as literal metaphor. Okay. The cock is the base of a man's biological urge, his biological mission, his purpose to procreate, to have his seed, his unique expression of who he is, and then have that be made manifest out into the world. And so everything in life operates in metaphor. And here's what I mean by that. We could look at any one aspect of your life and we could translate it to every aspect of your being. For example, if I were to meditate on, the palm of my hand and I were to look at it and derive meaning from the palm of my hand, I know this is illogical, but stick with me. The meaning that I would derive from the palm of my hand would vibrationally be representative of a block or something I desire or a boundary that I have in every aspect of my life. If I put my focus of awareness, because awareness is really just like a flashlight. So if I were to point my flashlight at any one direction of my life, I would derive meaning from it. Okay. Meaning usually comes through in the form of a thought form. Meaning usually comes through in the form of words as an expression of something that I can delineate out into the expression of who I am. However, just below the thought form, just below the words, there's also a feeling, there's also a felt sense. And oftentimes, when people are looking for patterns that are disrupting what they want to achieve in their life, they get stuck in the thought form and they don't go deeper into the felt sense, because the felt sense is of the animal body, right? Like a dog is not going to communicate with you, I'm feeling upset because I want to go for a walk. You're going to see the dog posture. You're going to see the dog have all of these different dog body language movements to essentially express itself. It's not going to speak to you verbally, right? Because it's an animal. So we also have this animal body. So all of that information is also held in the base of your cock, because the cock is the representation of your biological mission. It is your purpose. It is your instinct. And if there's a block of fully inhabiting the space of that lower region, you're going to see a block held on every other level of your existence that is blocking you from your inherent mission, your inherent purpose, your inherent means of feeling really uniquely fulfilled as a man in the world. And so, if you're struggling with women, if you're struggling with confidence, if you're struggling with abundance, if you're struggling with finances, most likely, because these are all biological drivers that men will typically have out in the world, there is a block from your awareness into this instinct that is held in the cock. There is a wisdom, a literal wisdom held in the base of the cock. And when you bring your awareness all the way down without judgment, that's the most important part, without judgment, and you allow for the information and the wisdom of that region of your body to reveal itself to you, you will then have a map of how to move forward. Because here's what happens when we have a desire, right? You're probably watching this video because you want something from it. You have a certain desire. Now, I don't know exactly what that desire is, but you know what that desire is. The desire might be, you might saw the word abundance and been like, okay, right, I would really like abundance. It might be, I would really like to learn more about self-development so that I insert desire. I would really like to be more attractive to women. I'd really like to be having a more fulfilling, a better sex life so that I can feel like the man that I truly feel like I am on the inside. I'd like to be able to express that. So there's this whole array of unique desire that you have. Your desire is always fueled by the expansion of consciousness. Okay. Your desire always bubbles up to the surface because something greater than you, call it whatever you want. You can call it your higher self. You can call it God. You can call it the creator. You can even just call it, if you want to get a little bit more sciencey of it, the full expression of your nervous system, because your body is nature. Okay. Your body is Mother Nature. There's always order in Mother Nature. And when there's dissonance, when there's a lack of order in Mother Nature, it will seek to correct itself. And so oftentimes our higher wisdom from the nature, from the wisdom of our body, comes through as desire. Desire is inherently not a comfortable state to be in at all. It actually exists slightly lower on the vibrational scale of emotions, is it's a sense of agitation. We don't have what we want. So we're being pushed in this direction. And then it is marked by dopamine and testosterone, which most people think of dopamine as like this really feel good neuromodulator. It is not. It is actually there because consciousness has come into our body to generate desire to allow us to expand into our full potential. So that is the nature of desire. So whatever desire you have, let me close that loop. Whatever desire you have for watching this or listening to this, wherever you are obtaining this information from, you have a particular desire, and that desire is valid completely. That desire has wisdom within it, that when you bring your awareness to that desire, it will give you, like literally, consciousness, your body, your mind, however you want to put it, will gift you two sets of information. And this is where it's really important. And we're going to translate this into the wisdom of the cock, but I want to get all of this kind of like bigger picture concept out of the way first. So the two pieces of information that desire gives to you is this idea. Okay, this is creative energy. This is like, wow, if I had obtained that desire, if I were the embodiment of that desire, what would that be like? What would that feel like? What would that smell like? What would my life be like? Who would I be? And the who is the most important part. Who would I be? Because if that desire is not in your current field, in your current reality right now, then that does mean it involves a shifting of your identity. The version of you that got you to this point right here to have the desire, but not have the result yet, is so not the same version of you who is in the embodied expression of that desire of already having it. And in which case, at that point, you would have another desire. That's a completely different version of you that your brain right now is is pushing into the future. You see it as a future state. You see it as, well, when I have that desire at some point in the future, then this will happen. I'll feel good enough. I'll da 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 da. Okay. And our conscious brains operate in time in that way. We see a past, we see us as we are now, and then we see a future. But what that desire does for our conscious awareness is it allows us to project into a perceived future state to start gaining the wisdom of that version of you. And then the time collapse happens, like a quantum collapse, meaning you are removing the buffer of time between that future state and who you are now. When you grab that information from the future and you embody it now, okay, that sets you up on this path for you to become the living, breathing embodiment of that desire of why you came to watch this video. That is the first piece of information. When you really have that down, when you're just like, wow, I would feel this and I would feel good enough and I'd be taller and maybe not actually physically taller, but you would energetically or neurologically actually take up more space. I would be very confident with women. I would be fully expressed in the bedroom. I would be a masculine leader of my own self. I would be meditating every day, like whatever it is for you. We have that information. Now, the second thing that it does is it always brings up the shadow side, because when you align to your desire and you see into who you would be, there's an expansion of light. Okay, awareness is light. So expansion of light, expansion of awareness. Your awareness starts running through a broader sense of neural pathways in your body. You start seeing, literally through your visual cortex, more possibilities. You start seeing more pathways to move forward into that. But remember how I said that version of you is not the same version of you now, because the version of you now has been constricted. It has been compacted. It has been split, fragmented from different parts of your truth. And not your fault at all. This is just how consciousness moves through generations. It's a lot of it from society. A lot of it is from parents. A lot of it is from how you were raised, from your family lineage. Like there's a whole minutia of information that gets put into why you are constricted in your sense of self in this moment right now. So with that flood of awareness, with that flood of a flashlight, with that flood of light into where you are going, your body loves that. Your body goes, because your body is Mother Nature, it goes, great. We love that. Let's go in that direction. And you start walking down that path. And then the shadow gets larger. When you have a brighter flashlight, what happens? The shadow gets more intense. It's this dualistic nature that we've all on some level consented to, because here we are as humans, we live in duality. The shadow will get more intense, but it's not bad. When the shadow gets more intense, it is an offering. It is a gift from your higher wisdom of, hey, here's where you feel disempowered relative to, it's all relationship. This is where you feel disempowered relative to, that is blocking you from becoming who it is that you're meant to be. And so oftentimes, this is where people mess up. They have a desire, they start moving towards that desire. It feels really good, what, for a day? I'm going to start a diet. And then by the end of the day, you're like, oh, fuck, right? Okay. But you at some point you feel really excited about it. Or I'm going to have this morning routine for 365 days. And then 20 days in, you fall off the wagon, right? Part of it is that novelty factor wears off, but part of it is because novelty, meaning something new, a new idea, a new habit, is not enough to get you to the finish line. It can be a very useful tool. We're going to talk about that later, but it is not enough to get you to the finish line, because novelty will capture your focus. And so you can actually remain focused. You have a little bit more biochemistry inside of you to push through those blocks, to face those blocks, to overcome those blocks. But what happens when the novelty wears out? Then you're actually being asked to completely be with those blocks, to completely be with that shadow, to own that shadow, to bring it in as a part of you. Okay, because you can't get rid of any part of you. You can love the fuck out of any part of you and up level it into its highest form. But you can't get rid of any part of you. And so when the novelty wears off and the shadow emerges and gets bigger and bigger, this is a blessing. And if you are not relating to the shadow as a blessing and a gift from your higher wisdom, you're not doing it correctly. You're never actually going to get to that state. You're never going to be able to collapse time enough to embody who you are as a man that takes up space naturally, effortlessly, and with the wisdom of every part of you, mind, heart, and cock. Okay. So that's the trajectory. And let me rephrase that just really briefly, just so I can fully close that loop. And then we're going to talk more about the cock, and then we're going to talk about novelty. You have a desire. Your desires are valid. You step into that desire. You get to know that desire. So you have intimacy with the desire. You understand it, and you'll be presented with two pieces of information. A, hey, this is who I need to be now, not in the future. Now, I need to make those choices now. That's how you collapse time. And B, here's the blocks that I am holding in my nervous system, where my nervous system is literally contracted in its awareness that I need to get to the root of and expand from the inside out, so that I no longer have this wonky relationship with the shit that's happened in my past. So that I know, like I know on every fiber of my being that I am a confident motherfucker, or like I am the most embodied man that I could possibly be. Those are the two pathways. So for a man that has experienced, even if you're not experiencing it now, but if you have in the past experienced the nice guy syndrome, the people pleasing, that tinge of depression, no matter how much I do, I still don't feel good enough. No matter how much money I have, I still don't feel good enough. Why am I not more present in my life? Why am I not happy? Or why can't I just be present with my wife or my kids? Why do I feel like something is off, right? Why is it that I still have a little bit of that anxiety around sex? Maybe there's a flood of things that could be coming up for you in terms of the negative awareness that you have that's producing the desire. It's usually the man, as a general blanket statement, it's usually the man that has actually done a lot of self-development work, that has been on this path, that is curious about either spirituality, self-growth, self-development. You've been to seminars, you've bought courses, maybe you work with a therapist, you work with a coach or something like that. You're interested in bringing that side of you more out into the world, but you still get stuck in getting really heady. Like, all of the things, but for some reason you're not doing it, right? So sometimes like I'll go create content about like, here's 5 hacks to become more confident, right? Like you take up more space, you move slower. So you could learn all of these tactics, but for some reason, there's something that's like not clicking. So if you identify with anything that I just said, the wisdom is in your cock, because for so long now, men have been given this message either explicitly or covertly, meaning kind of behind the scenes, that there's something inherently wrong with his masculinity. There's something inherently wrong with him being a man as a man, right? Men are hardwired differently than women. Of course, we have similarities. And part of what really makes a man is his masculinity. It is actually his instinct to protect, his instinct to conquer, his instinct to think quick, act quick, to go out and get what he wants in the world, his instinct to make decisions really quickly, his instinct to be himself, his instinct to be really unique, his instinct to fuck, his instinct to have sex, his instinct to generate wealth. All of these are very instinctual. And you might have some of those, you might relate to some of those, you might relate to one of them or all of them, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you are connected to that instinct. But for a man that has experienced any flavor of being a nice guy, of people pleasing, of tiptoeing, of hiding himself, of masking himself so that he can manage not feeling good enough, usually for that man, there is some amount of disconnection from his cock wisdom. He has been disconnected from that biological drive held in the wisdom of his cock to act on instinct. And when a man is not connected to his instinct, it renders him unavailable to be as attractive as he could be to the feminine pole, basically to women. And it renders him, even more so importantly than that, I think, it renders him unavailable to his own wisdom of what his spiritual or career expression of his mission is out into the world. And so he'll be operating in levels above it. Usually, where a man goes when he operates of levels outside of his cock energy, outside of that wisdom, outside of that instinct, generally he'll go up into his head. This is usually the reason why, not always, but usually why a man will even get started on the self-development journey, because he knows, he can sense, I'm always in my head. I have anxiety. I'm overthinking things. I'm not quite feeling like myself. I don't quite feel like I'm in my body. I can't quite just be myself. When a man is operating in his head, he is not in his cock wisdom. And so the way that you work with this is you take your flashlight of your awareness and you bring it into your cock. And even just right now, as I say that, just do that. You can close your eyes or keep your eyes open. It doesn't fucking matter. But bring your awareness into your cock. What is there? Okay. Like we talked about with those two pathways before, you cannot have judgment around what is there, because what's going to show up for you is going to be a thought and then a felt sense. The thought might be like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know what this woman's talking about. Your thought might be like, oh, I don't want to go there. That's just weird. Or your thought might be like, oh, maybe I got a little bit hard. Maybe I shouldn't be getting hard. Or, oh, I don't know. I feel just something, right? Your brain is going to generate words, but the words are not the truth. The words are the story that your brain is weaving to make sense of a feeling. The feeling is held in the animal body, and the feeling is what you need to work with. So if you're having those kinds of thoughts, or whatever thought that you're having, or you might be really, really comfortable with it, it might take a little bit more digging. The feeling under a lot of those thoughts is shame, repression, discomfort, uncertainty. These are feelings. It could even be sadness. There could be trauma there. That would be marked by numbness. That would be marked by like that sort of freeze response. That is somatic meaning mind body connection. That is somatic information that is held in your cock, that is blocking you from getting to who it is that you want to be, that is blocking you from your inherent desire. So the way that you work with this is you bring your awareness into the feeling, and you have to have a different relationship with that feeling. You have to understand that everything is a gift, that when you say, I want this desire, and you set out on that path, you're going to get this shadowy information too. But if you judge it at all, you can't capture all of it. If you think that this information is bad, wrong, not you, you try to push it aside, you judge it, you think it's not good, you're never going to be the embodiment of who you truly are with your instinct, with your cock energy, with your heart energy, with your mental energy. You're never going to be fully inhabiting your body, fully alive. And it will always create a back end tinge of grief in every single moment, for every single moment that you are not fully present. Our desires help us to become fully present because they give us the pathway forward. So the process of emotional alchemy relative to our cock energy is a bit more of a process that I do have in my course, Mastery for Men. I also, at the time of this recording, have some one-on-one spots available to work with you if you have some things that are coming up that you want some help around. Now, if you're looking for the next step that is free, I have a free masterclass that walks you through these 3 steps. And there is a small, I want to say it's like a 10-minute meditation hypnosis where you actually engage with the light side of it. You engage with the desire, the authentic desire that will actually be the momentum that will push you to who it is that you are meant to be. And then I do talk about how to start doing that shadow work a little bit more, but you have to recognize the authentic desire first, and then be very open to seeing what comes next. And so, like I was saying, even just now, like we've been talking about your cock a lot, how are you feeling in your body? What information is coming through? If you want to pause this and get out your journal, that's totally fine. But when you really, really sit with your cock, and it's almost like if you were to explain to an alien what an apple is like, right? Like this alien has never seen an apple. You'd be like, well, it's like it has kind of like a shiny surface. And when you bite into it, it's crunchy, it's sweet, but it's also maybe a little bit sour. It has a different texture on the inside. You want to use descriptive words with your 5 senses, meaning felt sense, anything like visual. Sometimes people even get like visual information of what information is stored in your cock right now. None of it is bad. And if you have something that doesn't feel good that is stored in the information of your cock, that's even more wonderful, because that is your higher wisdom being like, great. We want you to fully inhabit the energy of your cock so that you can have everything that you want in your life. It's basically like your higher wisdom is like, fuck yes, we want that for you too. Here's what you need to change your relationship relative to so that you can actually become that and not have to wake up every morning and do affirmations like, I am abundant, I am successful, I am this. Like, fuck the affirmations. They don't work. They're only talking to the very logical human part of the brain. They don't transcend the animal. But bringing your awareness to the animal, to the cock, to the felt sense that is there, to any shame that is there, and allowing that shame to just be there, to understand, why is it there? What is it asking of me? What does it need to know is true about reality or about myself or about my past, so that this shame can actually transcend into uniqueness? Because that's always the thing with shame. Shame always transcends into uniqueness. It always transcends into this very magnetic part of you that you've been working so hard subconsciously to push down, repress, deny, and ignore. And when you bring your awareness to it, you soften the shame, you allow it to be there, and you access the gold, the information, the uniqueness within it. That is how you overcome the block. Oh, and I said I was going to talk about novelty. Okay, so here's the last step. You do all of this process, right? You have the desire, you see the shadow, you bring your awareness into the somatic information in your cock, you understand what it is, you describe it out loud to a trusted therapist, to me, to yourself, to your journal, wherever you choose to go after this. And the next step is, once you feel a shift in your awareness, and this is not a logical shift, you must feel the shift. The body must have a different relationship with that shame, and you will know it because you know what shame feels like. It doesn't feel so good. When you shift that relationship and you find that uniqueness and you find, oh my gosh, like, I've been holding back this instinct that I have inside of me for so long, and now it's here, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel expansive. You're going to feel exalted. You're going to feel like, wow, there's actually more energy available in my body, because now there's not so much energy pushed towards managing, hiding that part of yourself. That takes a lot of energy. So when you're no longer managing that side of yourself, all of a sudden energy and awareness can flood through your body. And the very last step is, this is where the novelty comes in. The very last step is to take action on your instinct today, like right now, ideally in the next 20 minutes. That's the general rule of thumb, because all emotional states, which felt sense is emotional, all emotional states have an emotional refractory period, meaning they spike, they feel really good or really bad, depending on the experience, and then they have a slow bell curve where they drop off. But when you spike into expansiveness, your neurology is operating as a different version of you. You are operating as the time collapse version of you who is existing in the expansive aspect of you that already has like what you desire. So in that 20-minute period, you want to be like, what do I feel inspired, excited about taking action on? And here's where it gets even more interesting. That creates novelty in my life that I cannot take back. If you want the fastest, most proven way to make a massive change in your life, you take action, make sure you can't take it back. Here's some examples. A haircut. You cannot cut your hair and then decide 20 minutes later, uh-oh, I want to reattach my hair. Like, you can't do that. It is done. You can go through your closet, get rid of a lot of your stuff that aren't in alignment with who it is that you are becoming, and go take it to donation or sell it or whatever you do with your old clothes. Go do it right now. Get it out of your space. Move that energy out. Okay. You could rearrange your furniture. Obviously, you could put that back, but it takes a little bit of effort. Go send that text. Go do that thing. Go to that place and be open to meeting someone. When you go to the grocery store, go interact with people differently from this space, right? Go send that email, go apply for that job, go start that business, right? I'm giving you ideas that are big, quote unquote, or small, quote unquote. It doesn't matter how big or small they are, but what you're doing is you're taking action from this heightened state of who you are once the time collapse has occurred. And you're taking action on it in a way that you can't take back, because then universe and your environment, which plays such a huge role in our day to day, your environment will hold you in integrity of who you are becoming. Your environment will hold you in integrity, and it creates novelty. And like I said, novelty generates focus. That's a quote from Chase Hughes. Novelty meaning anything new, like you get rid of half your clothes in your closet, you rearrange, you clean everything out. And now all of a sudden, your closet is vibrationally existing as who it is that you're becoming. Every time you walk into that closet, your subconscious will have to do a little thing. It'll be like, wait, what? Like, I'm not used to seeing this. What's happening? It basically goes, if this is different than how it's always been, the subconscious goes, I must rearrange myself because I can't relate to this. This is new. I must become someone new. If you send that text or that email, you call that person right now, you do that thing, whatever it is, you can't take that back. That person has that information. Now, every time that they're in your life or no longer in your life, depending on, what situation it is, they see you and perceive you differently, and you can't ever take that back. And you want that. You want the people in your life to see you and perceive you differently, to hold you to that standard. So that is that. Go meditate on your cock, do all the journaling things, watch my free masterclass. That's going to give you even more of the actual how to access that desire and some really, really practical steps, especially for a man who is entering the world of shadow work, or even if you've done shadow work for a while. The way I do shadow work for a man is so different than everyone else. And it is especially, and this is where it's really important, especially different than how a female does shadow work, because shadow work can be this very like illogical sort of emotional process, but it doesn't have to be landed all the time in this like chaotic sort of feminine energy. There's a specific way for a man to do it, so that you go in, you get the information, and then you transcend it really quickly so that it ultimately aligns with your masculinity. So thank you so much for watching. Hit follow, subscribe, like this video. That would mean the world to me, and I will see you soon.